Do you wonder if others are dealing with the same project management challenges as you? Not sure where to turn for guidance and leadership? Office Hours are in session as we discuss project management and PMOs with global leaders, hearing their story and learning their secrets to success. Our goal is to empower you and help you elevate your PMO and project management career to new heights. Welcome back to Project Management Office Hours with your host, PMO Joe.
Welcome, everyone, to Project Management Office Hours. We're the #1 live project management radio show in the United States, broadcasting to you from the new Phoenix Business RadioX studios in Tempe, Arizona. I'm your host, PMO Joe, and for the next hour or so, we're going to be talking project management with our special guest who's in studio with me today. It's always great to have someone here with me in the studio. Before we jump into that conversation, just want to send out a couple of announcements. I had mentioned last week on the show that the PMO Leader Global Community Annual Conference is now accepting registrations. We just announced this week that our title sponsor is keyed in. We're very happy to have them as a global sponsor for us. We have Planisware, who is sponsoring the Americas region and the EMEA region. And we just signed on our Asia Pacific sponsor this morning, so we'll have that announcement coming out in the next day or two. So lots of great stuff. The conference, I think, is going to be a little bit unique. We're going to start over in Perth, Australia at 10 a.m. Perth time, and then be live for the next 17 hours, bringing you almost like a New Year's Eve celebration, right? We're going to, as we follow the sun across the world, we're going to be bringing you live content from, I think, every continent in the world except Antarctica. So if there's anybody in Antarctica listening and you want to present, it would be awesome to be able to have you join us as well. So you'll be able to go out to our website, get your registration in. I have that here shown on screen. Registration is free. Thanks to our sponsors. They've covered the cost of the conference. So it's free for everybody to go out there and join us. Also want to mention that these shows are recorded and you can use them as a podcast to help you obtain your PDUs. So this is show 110, I believe. So that's a lot of PDUs. So take advantage of that, not just for the PDUs, of course, but we've had some amazing guests on over the past 5 years with lots of great experiences and knowledge that they've shared with the audience. So take a listen and collect those PDUs as well while you're doing it. We are live radio, as I mentioned, but we're also streaming right now on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So really, there's no excuse to not be able to join us other than maybe you've got a busy schedule, because most project management professionals do. But we've got access to wherever you need it. So with that, if you're listening in today, drop a comment out there. Let us know where you're joining from. It's always fun to be able to see where our different listeners are coming in from. That's it for announcements. Welcome, Milan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joe. It's really appreciate being here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. You've got quite the interesting story. And before we jump into that, I guess if you can just take a minute or two and introduce yourself to the listener so they can know a little bit more about who you are.
Sure. So, my name is Milan Dordevic, or actually it's pronounced Dordevic. So, I'm almost 15 years in a project management industry. I was on various project leadership positions, and I was involved in implementation of the project management in various companies, PMOs, or transformation, implementing the change, and so on. Mostly focused on high-tech companies in Europe or internationally, and now here. I'm director of product development at Proctoria, Scottsdale-based company, which is in the tech industry. And I'm fortunate that I have opportunity to be in person here with you in the studio.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for joining us. We've connected on the phone, had some conversations, and you have quite the interesting background. For those, you can obviously hear an accent there. What's the origin story, right? How did you end up here in Phoenix?
Yes, I'm originally from Europe, from Serbia. And I started my career there live. And 3 years ago, I moved with my family to Arizona. So we were, a couple of years, maybe 5 years ago, we came here to discover opportunity for growth, for, better life living. We did pretty much everything that we can in Europe, which was really nice for us. I was really accomplished in the project management area, working for the biggest IT companies there. leading enormous projects and implementing PMOs, in example, in BMW and so on. But I saw that I can continue my career and life here. And definitely I selected Arizona because there is no snow.
There's no snow, but it is hot, right?
It is hot, but yeah, I can deal with that easier than with snow. So you can jump in a pool or, I don't know, chill it.
You don't have to shovel sunshine,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So when I hear Serbia, I don't necessarily think project management hotbed, but that's probably my own ignorance because I've never been there. What is project management like in Serbia, maybe to compare and contrast to what you've seen here in the States?
Yeah, so there is definitely a difference. So even though project management is quite, I don't know, implemented as a discipline and or as a role profession in Serbia, maybe in the recent years, when I started my career, I wasn't, as majority of the people, accidental project manager.
Mm-hmm.
So I started on my college as I wanted to be a software developer. So I enrolled to college to be a software developer. But on the second year, I discovered some courses and subjects related to management, especially project management, where I discovered myself. So after that, I completely focused on that area and I did my emphasis in project management on bachelor, master's, MBA, and everything else. So pretty much I'm living the life of the project management.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm speaking September 12th here at ASU to a group of engineering students, right? Not related to project management, but they have to do senior projects.
Yeah.
So we're trying to help them have a project mindset while they're doing their work. And interesting that's kind of how you flipped over to join the profession.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was interesting back then in Serbia when I tried, or was one of the, I wouldn't say pioneers, but one of the first one who definitely want to change and improve the project management discipline and area in the country. And I had the issues with, getting the information, knowledge from the local sources. So the first source was a PMI chapter in Serbia, which currently back then was, only 100 people.
But we were talking earlier before the show started, and now you're helping plug them into the project management, or I don't know the official name of it, but the exchange program, right?
Yep, exactly.
Can you share a little bit about that and that conversation?
Yeah, so since 2012, I was involved as a part of the PMI Serbia chapter. But when I moved to Arizona, I joined to PMI Phoenix chapter. Mm-hmm. So this year, I became one of the board directors of the PMI Phoenix chapter. So officially today, voting started. So so whoever is listening to this one, vote for me and Derek as well. Yeah. So we can take those roles officially. So yeah, Phoenix chapter is a large chapter, huge chapter. I think it's unbrushed diamond. And you are doing the awesome job for project management for Arizona and globally. So definitely your involvement in chapter and all around the project management here is huge. And I wanted to do the same. So I did in Serbia, I did in various companies, and I said, okay, I cannot wait. I cannot sit and someone doing that job. I want to influence and I want to make an impact in the project management. So if no one else want to do it, or if they can, I can help them definitely. And I want to commit to that, and I want to jump and do as much as I can. So this is something that I joined there, started to cover some roles as a VP for the membership. And also I didn't forget my original chapter or my origins. So today we had a presentation of the exchange meetings between PMI Phoenix chapter and PMI Serbia chapter. And we would like to put that one on some higher level to include them in the official collaboration between chapters that you initiated a few years ago. Is that right?
And I think that's up to over 20 different chapters now, right?
24, I think.
That's amazing. And this is, great for this world we live in. Just remove politics because our profession's about delivering strategic initiatives, right?
Exactly. So yeah, definitely we need to remove all the boundaries that currently exist or that someone else put on us. So especially during Corona or COVID period, we learned that we can overcome that we can connect and be virtually with everyone, from the world.
Yeah. And again, that's, I mentioned the PMO Leader Global Conference. That's the same concept, right? It's a truly global community that's based on how do we exchange information and share information to help our profession be
Exactly.
better, right? I mean,
Yep.
it's the concept of COVID's been horrible, obviously, but there's been some benefit, right? If you seek out, you can find the good in anything, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think I'm happy that currently that we have PMO leader and the platform and all the community around that now is providing all the benefits, help, and support to all project managers or whoever is starting career right now. But I didn't have something like that 10 years or 15 years, 20 years ago. So I'm glad that someone started doing that right now. And definitely we all need to support our community, our people, and new generations that are coming.
Yeah, because I'm part of that generation that's going, right? I'm
Yeah.
the one with all the gray in the beard. It's now, how do we prepare that generation after me to be able to have that tools to be successful? So again, leaders like yourself who are stepping up locally like you did in your time in Serbia and now here in Phoenix to be leaders, I think it's a message to that next generation of, if you want it, go get it,
Go
right?
get
Go
it.
grab
Definitely.
it.
Yeah. Don't wait. Make a change. If you want to see the change, make the change.
I like that. You'd mentioned Mercedes-Benz, and we had some guests on about a month or so ago that were talking about
BMW.
BMW. What did I say?
Mercedes.
Oh, no, BMW. Sorry about
Mercedes
that.
was involved in the project. So
Yeah.
they were part of the project as well.
No, yes, BMW, my mistake. I mean, they were talking about less large-scale framework that they put in. Were you involved in that as well, or what was your participation there?
Yeah, definitely. I was involved. So I was hired to the company called TT Tech from Austria to completely implement the project management approach because BMW faced with really nice thing in that moment. They discovered that their competition is not Mercedes, it's not Volkswagen, it's not Audi or some other company. They discovered their competition are high-tech companies, IT companies like Google, Apple. They will create new autonomous cars, electric cars, like Tesla is doing. So they said, okay, we need to change approach. We need to change way of working. We need to interrupt the industry. Automotive industry is one of the oldest that's never changed. For hundreds of years, they're working in the same way. And they said, okay, we want to switch to less large-scale Scrum, which is really popular in Europe. Here in the US, more is safe, is more popular. So yeah, they said, okay, Scrum is really good, but Scrum you can implement on a single team or a small number of teams. We need something on a larger base. So definitely safe, less can help us. And they directly approach us and less community. So we did a lot of training, certifications, and everything else, and implemented less on a large scale. So we had the consortium of the couple of companies, and I was leading 300 software engineers there. The total number was almost 2,000 people.
Wow. So, this is something we hadn't talked about previously, but I'm following your career path now. You start in Serbia in university for development, switch over to project management, get involved in the local chapter. And some years later, how long was it before you did that at BMW?
I'll say 10.
So, and the reason I say that is for people listening, right, who are earlier in your career and you're thinking about, we're going, 10 years is not a long time, especially at the beginning of your career. You went from, I didn't even know anything about project management, to now at an international global brand leader in its industry in implementation of a brand new process to be able to do things differently in 10 years.
Yep. I appreciate that.
Right? That's pretty amazing.
It is.
I mean, think about that for a second, really, what can you accomplish in 10 years from where you are today, right? For people who are listening to, mark your time today and go forward 10 years. Where do you want to be doing? Where do you want to be and what do you want to be doing? And you can do that, right?
No, definitely. That can be done, but definitely discipline, perseverance, and putting the time and effort in something is crucial. So those 10 years, someone can compact maybe in a 5 if they're doing that 20 hours a day. But you need to have opportunity to implement knowledge or those skills so you can sharpen the skills. So you need to, I was never afraid of doing some project or taking the project or jumping into something that I didn't know. I was learning by doing. In the meanwhile, every night I was reading about it. I was enrolling myself currently in parallel with my family. I have 3 kids. One was born month ago. So on 1st of August, today's first month. So I have family, and I'm currently enrolled in my third master's. All three were in one or the another way related to project management. So I was getting that knowledge in the meanwhile while I was working during day and implementing whatever I learned during night. And I was trying to implementing, and there were funny stories about that, how I tried to implement Scrum for the first time and everything else. So that didn't pass well.
Well, no, hey, let's hear the story. The reason we want to hear it is because people can learn from your experiences, right?
Yep.
And the key thing I want to point out, right, just as prior guests, right, talking with Marissa Silva, Karsten Lay, Amira Amazahari, they all talked about taking a chance, right? They all moved to different countries. They all were willing to follow something that they weren't sure about, but they just wanted to go for it. And you've done the same thing.
Same.
So having the courage to take a chance on something, like maybe failing on the first time you implement Scrum.
Yep.
So what was that story like?
Yeah, so the failing is definitely something that every one of us, get some time or be in that position sometime. But if you learn from failing and change the way how you are doing that next time, will put you on the right track. That will move you so you can make a progress. I'm completely about making progress, and I'm not stopping. So I'm constantly in that, high speed and trying to change, to implement something, because I know that will lead in some good direction. And of course, all of us fail, but we need to fail fast and we need to change fast. So yeah, the Scrum thing, I was reading about that. It was 2009 or 10 when I tried first time implementing Scrum in one startup. So I got really good training from Ericsson in Finland and from one trainer from Finland. So I said, okay, tomorrow I will use all this knowledge, go to the company and try to convince them and implement this tomorrow. No, it was not like that. So I called everyone in the company. So it was startup, maybe 30, 40, 50 people in the company. And I called CEOs because that was mentioned there. Oh, you need to get buy-in from the CEO level, C-level, and everyone else. So they need to see it here. And I said, okay, guys, I have something to tell you today. We will start implementation of Scrum. And they said, what's that? So nobody heard about that. So it was still unknown. So there was, a couple of books about that. That was 12 years ago. So, and I said, but okay, explain us. And I did really nice presentation, PowerPoint and so on. And I said, okay, story about chicken and egg, chicken and pig. So how one will be committed, the other one will be. So I explained like that. And I said, okay, there are stakeholders, CEOs. So there are chickens, and we who are involved in the project, we are pigs. So they will, drop the egg and they will leave, but we are pigs. We need to be committed. So part of us will stay there and be, completely involved in the project. So ham and eggs. So let's make ham and eggs from the, and I explained the roles. And then in the half of the meeting, CEO said, this is bullshit. So let's stop this one. We will never implement this one.
Oh boy.
So that's it. So, and he, say, you cannot mention this anymore. So you're done. Don't mention me some hippie stories or something like that. So it's not, they need to deliver and that's it. So move that away. So me being me, didn't want to listen, or I listened, but after some time, I took different approach. So I started implementing one by one technique and using one by one tool. So I started with a small team. I started with one project and I said, okay, guys, let's meet every morning. Let's do sync. Let's see. I don't know if you have an issue, what you did yesterday, what you plan to do tomorrow, and so on. So they said, okay, let's do it. And we started. So one by one change, and on a small door, I started implementing. And after some time, results were there. And I saw those results and I said, whoa, really good. So yeah, but nobody noticed that change. And we had results. We delivered whatever we planned to deliver. We implemented some processes, but they were not aware. So in the end, maybe after 6 months, a year, I told them, hey guys, you see what we do now and every Friday or every second Friday, what we do on Wednesdays, how we do decompose those items, do grooming, do implementation, have those meetings when I'm asking you to do this. those are the things that I explained. Remember in that presentation 1 year ago? Those are the things. I said, whoa, but this is completely different. Then we didn't understand that because my approach was not appropriate.
Yeah.
So I didn't jump in a way how it should be, but I learned during time. So later, with some other techniques, tools, methodologies, because I tried later to get the knowledge from all other methodologies and approaches. So yeah, I think all of them are really good, and all you need to know to have a knowledge. So make approach from a different side.
Yeah, you touched on something I'm pretty passionate about. You had talked about in startup community, failing fast is kind of this mindset, and I think they've got it wrong, right? Because when you fail, it means it's over, it's done, it didn't work. You can move on to something else, right? But I say it's not. We learn fast.
Learn fast, exactly.
And in the story you just shared, right, you learned fast that the approach you were doing wasn't going to work, and you took a different approach. You didn't fail. You actually succeeded.
Yeah.
So this mindset of failure, if you go in thinking we're going to fail fast, you've already lost, right? It's a defeatist mindset. If we go in and say, I'm going to learn fast, and we're still going to come out in the end, even if your organization doesn't succeed, if it doesn't play out the way you want it to, because so many startups don't, you still learn from that and you take it into your next experience.
Yeah, experience, and you will not do in the same time next time.
Yeah. So that's why I'm a learn fast guy, not a fail fast guy, right? We all have enough challenges in our world. We don't have to be thinking about failure. But I love that. I love the story component of that because it's a real world scenario, right? As a consulting firm, the PMO squad has gone in and we've shared with clients, hey, this is the approach we think you should take. And they've said, well, I don't think we really want to go that path.
Yeah.
And then you have to adjust, or you have to learn how to be able to accommodate what your client wants because you're not going to force something.
Exactly, yeah. So I think the biggest mistake that, people or organization do, they read about some methodology, they read about some approach, or they hear that one company succeeded because they did it in that way, and they want to do the same. It's like, I don't know, so there is one person who succeed, he was doing it the same way, and you want to do the same. No, but you're in a different industry. You have different product. Your story is different. You need to take all those things into consideration and apply it to your organization, company approach. So you cannot implement. There are probably, chances that you will succeed, but there are plenty of approaches, plenty of methodologies, frameworks, and you can select one of them, or you can make even better custom one. Select the best from all of them and apply to your organization. Make a custom fit.
Yeah, that's, I think, what the good move PMI's made recently with the latest PMBOK is to get out of the practice of how we're going to do this and now the principles of how we should do that, right? It allows for that customization to really say, there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end, and how do we do that? What fits for your company? And let's work on that, right? I think we've been preaching that for a decade, so finally PMI caught up with our mindset.
Yeah, finally they did. But that's good. So they're changing and they're learning.
So you've been over here in the States, I think you said 5 years now?
3.
3 years. So what's different about project management here compared to what you experienced in Europe?
Yeah, so here is diversification. Definitely exists here. And project management is in pretty much every industry. So you have project management in government, you have project management in healthcare here, in insurance, in IT, on all kind of, companies, industries, organizations. In Serbia or generally in Europe, it's not like that. It's mostly focused on IT and construction. So you can choose one of the other. And really small, there are certain, efforts to implement the project management in some other industries, which is not, completely implemented.
Yeah. And this, again, I'll plug the PMO Leader Conference, right? We're going to have several speakers from Europe and the Middle East and Africa in there as well. And they're going to be talking about those experiences, right? So to learn, because listen, I'm, I think, doing a good job here locally within the US, but we've never worked in Europe. We've never worked in Asia. And I can learn from those regions just as much as they could learn from me. So now having that opportunity, she talked about with the boundaries broken down, let's listen to those voices. Let's hear how they practice project management in Europe and Asia and Africa and around the world and learn from them just as we try to teach them what we know.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that exchange need to exist. The project management as a project management from the, pharaohs building those pyramids and everything else, like explained in the book, started 1,000 years ago, but as a discipline started in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of, books and subjects and courses and everything else explaining the project management, but it's not spread equally in every part of the world. It's not shared. Or, in example, in Serbia, especially in the IT industry, Scrum Agile is really popular.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more popular than here.
Okay.
So pretty much every single company want to have Scrum Masters, want to implement Agile, and everybody's talking about the Agile. Agile conferences are every single month, but there is no such a thing for some other industries. So the other industries are, I will say, suffering. They need to know what techniques they can use, approaches, frameworks, so they can implement and improve their businesses, because that's the ultimate idea. All of them need to deliver something, because that's the purpose of the project management, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Delivery of some strategic initiative. Absolutely.
Exactly.
So how do you, I guess the exchange program maybe is the answer to this, but I was going to say, how do we work with these other regions around the world to try to kind of lift, right? Rising tide lifts all boats. So how do we help lift project management around the world, coming from someone who's far more world versed than I am?
Yeah. So, no, definitely PMI can be one of the ways. Definitely PMI is everywhere. Mm-hmm. So PMI has 300 chapters and it's pretty much in every state. But PMI through the local chapters is doing that for years. And they did to the certain point. Mm-hmm. But I think we should not align or should not stay there with only them being the one who will be implementing something, so we can take the actions in the other way. So PMO leader is a great opportunity that should be spread pretty much every country, every state or every region. And I think definitely sharing knowledge, approaches, and having more people involved in the community, sharing their experiences, troubles. So because we are all facing with the same things, we are all telling the same story. Mm-hmm. And I think what is currently happening, what I see, is that we have, I hope I will not offend anyone, but we have those different methodologies, different approaches, like a different, I'll say, churches or different religions, mm-hmm. and they're all against each other. Mm-hmm. So we need to be the glue there, and to make them work together, because in the end, we want the same thing, which is delivery. So we all working on a project which has, as you said, beginning and start. We have some scope, what we want to deliver with a certain quality, with a certain resources and certain constraints that we need to jungle. But different methodologies, different frameworks are just explaining from the different perspective. We're all saying about or speaking about the same thing. The perspective is from this angle or from this angle. And we need to be the one, or we need to somehow connect all those dots and to, be the peacemaker between all those religions, I will say, mm-hmm. which are currently, everywhere in the world.
Yeah, it's, when you think about it, their Agile and waterfall didn't exist when the Great Pyramids were built.
Yep.
And somehow they still built them.
Exactly.
Right? So labels, I think, are just horrible.
Yeah.
Right? If we just call it delivery, and there's different techniques that you can use to do that, we don't have to buy in, my company is only Agile, or my company is only waterfall. But why?
Yeah.
I don't understand that mindset. And I think the rigidity that comes associated with that is actually a limiting factor.
Exactly.
For organizations.
Exactly. So I was facing with those things, on the conferences, in the conversation, or implementing. No, we want to be Agile. We want to implement Agile methodology only. Or if I'm speaking in front of the PMI or traditional discipline, they'll say, oh, you're a traditionalist, you are speaking about a PMI, you have, closed mindset, we are Agile, we're open for everything. I said, we are saying about the same thing. So I said, because my first certification was by International Project Management Association, which is popular in Europe as well. And after that, I said, okay, I want to understand the other perspective. So I did PMI certification and PMP. And then there was a third side, which was Agile. And I said, okay, let me get that knowledge so I can understand completely what you're talking about. and we can be on the same side. And I said, okay, I will do my certification in Scrum as a product owner as well, and all kind of certification that exists. And then those skilled methodologies came or frameworks, and I said, okay, let me do less, let me do safe. So I got all certifications so I can speak with those people, so I can convince them that they're all good. And we can take the best parts from all of them and implement and make a custom framework which will get the best result for the company.
How many certifications do you have?
I don't know, 8, 10, something like that.
Wow, that's awesome. And again, I'm one of those older school guys, right, that got my PMP and helped me understand the value of a consistent approach to delivery, and then found what works for me to deliver. Right. So I've never gone out and got any additional certifications, not because I don't participate in those frameworks or methodologies, but just because it's I don't know, I just haven't had time for it, I guess, which is a horrible answer, because when I interview people and they give me that answer, I say, that's a horrible answer. You should have time for it. But I'm impressed by you. Rami Kabni is another guy that I know that has so many certifications, and he's just
on
ingesting.
LinkedIn, I don't know, he cannot his name and all certifications in next to the names. It's huge. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So what if we compare and contrast them? Not the details of them, but how they've influenced your career and what you've taken from them to put into practice. Is there any sort of connection that you can make through your certifications and utilization of that within your work career itself?
Yeah. So I was fortunate that I started with a PMP and with a PMI, because that gave me the broad, information, and that exam was, horrible. So it was terrifying. So the other certification later just added additional knowledge to the foundation that I had, and I got through the PMP certification. So all of them just helped me to understand better the thing that I already learned through the PMP. So all of them definitely got me, additional benefits, knowledge, and helped me to understand the changes, because, we saw that PMI was not changing for years, and they had that approach, which was the same from 70s, even though environment changed a lot. So that make the opportunity for some other approaches, and some other organizations took the opportunity to say, okay, we need to do something, we need to change. So this is the way. So we had Scrum, Agile, that came from, I will say, software industry. Original PMI came from, military industry or civil engineering. We was focused mostly on that. But now we have implementation of all those frameworks and approaches to various industries. So definitely it's changing something.
We have an interesting webinar series out on the PMO leader. Michael O'Connor was the host for that, and it was certifications around the world. And he went and interviewed some of the leaders from the different associations that provide those global certifications. And what you realize is they all come from the same spot, right? They're all good-hearted, trying to make the world better for project managers, but they have their own approach. So certainly encourage everyone to go out and check out those
definitely
shows and learn a little bit more about those different bodies.
Yeah, as you said. So all those, we cannot call them methodologies. They're not all the methodologies. Some of them are just approaches, tools, techniques, frameworks. So they all give you certain knowledge, but some of those you can implement on a small team level, or a little bit bigger group, or in the whole organizational level. So that's something that PMI had as a program or portfolio, but now SAFE is doing on the whole organization. So there are different thoughts how SAFE is changing names and doing some weird things, but put that one on the side. Put the roles and everything else on the side, and take what you can grab from that one and what you can implement, because now we are in the fifth technology industry, on the turn point of the fifth technology industry, where everything is changing. So we need to change ourselves. We need to change our processes if we want to thrive, if we want to implement and produce, really good products, which will be interesting and which will be on the market really fast. So we need to be, I will say, agile in certain way, and we need to implement that through the whole organization. If the whole organization is not aligned, then there is no sense.
So you mentioned there this new technology kind of revolution or
Yeah.
fifth generation that we're heading into, and AI is certainly
Yep.
a part of that. Every year, usually around November, December time, people start coming out with, here's my predictions of what's going to change in project
Yeah.
management next year. And for the past 5+ years, people have said AI is going to take over project management. And then I write the counter argument and I say, I've been hearing this forever, not this year.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, but not this year. What's your thoughts on AI and project management? Or, I mean, thoughts, but how about
Yeah.
your experiences?
No, definitely. I think AI is already here, but in a certain way. So I recently wrote an article on Forbes. So it's related to AI decision making in the organization and project management. Yeah, whoever is willing can read that one. And there are three distinguished groups of the AI implementation. So the first one is assisted AI. So assisted AI means that AI is kind of helping you to generate certain data or to process certain data, which we have right now in the project management. So different kind of calendars, scheduling tools, different kind of cloud-based tools that we are using to process data to help us to get some decision.
Mm-hmm.
So to track something. So there are plenty of tools currently using AI in that way. The next step, or the second step of the implementing AI, is augmented AI, which is going to the one more level, which is using machine learning to train certain models and to train action, which is going to happen in the future. So you are not using something just to make some decisions and to help you something to process the data, but you are training a system so they can predict something in the future and they can change based on the new inputs and new data, which currently started happening with some companies, some tools, and providing certain products that can be used. And some of them we can develop by ourselves, which I'm currently doing with my team in the company. We are developing our own CRM, which is smart, which is learning during the time, collecting certain information from the leads and everything else, what we do, and the actions that we took. Based on those actions that we took, can help me so I can predict what's going to happen with the project that I will start. Oh, you took those actions on the previous projects. You did this, and that can help you. So can kind of define a trend line or some actions that you should not take.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the next step, which people, when they are speaking about the AI, they mostly think of the completely full automated AI, which are robots.
Mm-hmm.
We are still not there.
Right.
So we are still not there, and definitely will take 5 more years, at least, so
10,
that we have
20,
maybe
30.
20. Yeah, depends on if you are speaking about those chips that Elon Musk want to implement in the head of the people. So definitely that's not something that's going to happen next month.
So this is always fascinating for me because I am wholeheartedly supportive of advancing technology to help us improve. And the challenge we see with the PMO squad, right, is we're working with clients and we try to help everybody do better, of course. And we'll say, what systems are you on? And they're like, oh, well, we use Excel.
So, yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, there's so many different solutions out there to collect data. And there's some basic ones like Office products that are out there. How do we get data that's usable by a tool that is able to take in all of the different technologies that we use in our industry? I think that diversity of technology is actually limiting our capability to advance to that next level and to that augmented stage, because there isn't a common data set that any company can go right to. Again, I'm not a technology guy, though you're probably...
Yeah, it is. Definitely, that's the issue that we're currently facing with.
So how do we, one, do we need to fix that, right? As an industry, should we be thinking more about this? Or is what we do so human-driven, right? Think of Sunil's time during PMI leadership where he came up with the power skills that we have to focus on. And I agree with that. Motivation, negotiation, all of those things are extremely important as a project manager. But those aren't AI driven, right? We're not going to motivate people necessarily with Well, I don't want to limit ourselves because I can think of utilizations where we could motivate people with intelligence that way.
Yeah, I think in the future, definitely big changes will happen, but not only in the project management, but all the industries. So pretty much automation, digitalization will take advantage. And we see what happened in the last 10 years. A lot of processes are automated.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, a lot of roles will be turned off. They will not exist. They will be replaced, not with robots, but they will be replaced with a simple AI, as I explained, which will just do processing of certain data, because there are no papers anymore. You do not need to sign by your hand. You do not need to go somewhere to take those papers or whatever to grab, to do, to oversee. You can do it virtually now. You have cameras, you have technology to send, you have everything. So there are plenty of organizations using that advantage and automating all those processes and keeping people to be decision makers. So we need to keep, and as you mentioned, to use those skills that computer cannot do. And we need to focus on that side more, because later I think the role of the project manager, or all kind of roles in the project management industry, will grow. And definitely this is I don't know, this is role or industry of the future, because we will be the one who will be guiding and driving technology. We'll be the one who will be driving changes in the organizations, and the ones who will be driving the processes and implementing that to the ultimate product or delivery. We'll be using people to help us and people to make decisions which are pre-processed and collected digitally with the computers and machines.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, right? Because to your point, project managers are on the lead of all of these new implementations.
Yep.
And then the question is, how do we consume what we're leading,
Yep.
right? Because by definition, each project is unique.
Yep.
So if it's unique, how do we use machine learning and other intelligence to be able to come up with answers? And I think that's the key, right?
Exactly.
How do we do that? Because there's still common
Yep.
threads through unique projects, right? You still build schedules, you still use status reports, you still find risks and issues. And going back and having automation and intelligence and machine learning evaluate those could be helpful. So
definitely, yeah. And we'll remove, biases.
Mm-hmm.
Will be remove mistake or issues that people can make. So I don't forget something, to overcome something, or not to think something. So the program is defined to pre-process that one, but people are the ones who are defining that program.
Mm-hmm.
That will not be some robots which will be on the side and they do whatever they want. No, we are not there. So those are still movies, or maybe in the future, maybe not.
Yeah. Probably the biggest challenge with this is organizational acceptance of project management as a whole, right?
Yeah.
It's not that we within the industry, I think, will absorb and learn from this, and it will come. But organizations need to be willing to invest in those tools.
Exactly.
And right now they struggle to invest in project management to begin with.
Yeah. So definitely, yeah, they not only need to invest in the tools, and they need to invest in the people.
Sure.
So, and I think PMO as a center of excellence in the company should be the one who should force that change.
Well, I agree with that, but the challenge is going to be getting the organization to just accept a PMO to do that.
Exactly.
And some companies have.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a truly global issue, but certainly I think there's fewer companies who have embraced the PMO the right way than those that haven't.
Yeah, but those good stories need to be explained, to be shared, and all companies need to hear about those. And to know, whoa, they implemented PMO because the PMO is the center point of the project management, of the excellence, of the governance, and everything else that can be helpful for the organization, can support company goals, and can support all changes and everything in the company.
Yeah, I'm speaking later this month down at the PMI Alamo chapter in Texas. And I'm going to be speaking, as I mentioned, at ASU, and I'm going to be talking about the language of project management. Not because we in the project management industry need to understand our language, right? We all speak fluent project management, but organizations don't. And when we bring these concepts to them, they speak operations language. And it's like learning a brand new language to them. And we have to be the stewards of language teachers as much as we are as process providers and project leaders. How do we teach the person sitting in marketing the language of project management so they can understand it and not run away from it. Because what we don't understand, we usually back away from.
Exactly.
So I think we've got an interesting next 5+ years in our industry to see how we evolve with this new machine learning and technology and AI and all that.
Yeah, definitely. When you mention the marketing or some other departments in the organization, I think that PMO will not be the single unit in the future. Will not be one office which is there to help you if you need help, and that you will knock on the door and say, "Oh, I need some charts, reports, templates, or something like that." No, the PMO will be spread through the organization. The PMO will consist of all members in the organization that can drive change, that can change their department. So we'll be in the marketing department, we'll be in operation department, we'll be in a sales department. So all those that want to, implement something, because they're all kind of managing their own projects. Even marketing team has a project, build a website, put all those press releases, put those blogs, drive some campaigns, marketing campaigns. From their perspective, that's a project. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, I was against that. No, wait. That's not a project. You're not project manager. But it seems they are. And they need what they need. They need support from the project management industry, from the people who are, skilled in project management, to help them to transfer those skills to them, because they are becoming the marketing project managers, healthcare project managers, and everything else. So they have a huge technical knowledge, which needs to be upgraded with the skills of the project management, so they can apply to their own projects. And I think that that's definitely in the way that all this industry will go.
Well, I think a challenge to that is going to be, again, labels.
Yeah.
Right? Because the PMO comes with a perceived connotation, right? It's what it is. Because everyone runs projects, to your point, right?
Exactly.
Think of Six Sigma. And Six Sigma went throughout the organization to find ways to remove waste and build efficiency. It didn't have to be just a product you were producing. You can go into marketing and use Six Sigma tools. But it wasn't called the Six Sigma office, right? It was a tool that you would use, right? Or a set of tools, right, that you would use to be able to do that. Project management office is now coming in with this 50 years of established mindset of you're an office that people do
people
come to.
see there and they're full-time doing that one.
Right. So that's where again, PMO Squad, we've changed it. We said, no, the PMO is purpose, measure, optimize.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of what you're doing? How do we measure our capability on it? And then how do we optimize it and make it be a tool?
Exactly. Because I have the other language for that. I call that Center of Project Excellence. Mm-hmm. And I think that every organization should be Center of Project Excellence, because each department or every team, they all have some projects and they need to deliver something. So the whole organization should be aligned. All activities should be aligned with the ultimate goals of the organization. And if we are all together through the tribes or something like that, sharing knowledge based on the, activity, based on the certain area, we all are kind of Center of Project Excellence, which is vertically and horizontally implemented through organization.
Yeah, what I like here is we're not probably too far off in age, but we're certainly probably a generation apart from each other, right? And you're coming after me, and you're leading the charge for that next generation that's coming. And you've got fantastic experience and great thought leadership that you have shared with us today. I'd say, what is the message maybe for your generation, right? As you take on new technologies, new principles, new thoughts within our industry, what's the rallying cry, right? Because I think my generation, and maybe the one before us, the first generation, was, let's get accepted.
Yeah.
Let's build consistently and get accepted. Well, we're there, right? There's now enough associations, enough companies understand it. So now what do we do with what we have, right? What's the next generation? What's the message for them?
I think they need to be open. Definitely openness, and they need to be, they need to implement change. So they need to grab whatever is in front of them. They need to have open eyes with the changes happening into the society. So the changes that are happening with the industry, the technology. So if we are not aligned with our surrounding, we cannot progress. we're always stuck. So we should not be in the position where we're stuck, because if you're stuck, you will not progress and you will not go anywhere. So new generations definitely need to be in the position where they need to see in the future what's going to happen in the next 5-10 years, and to align their actions based on that. And definitely education, knowledge, and being involved in community, society, and with other people that can transfer your knowledge is definitely something that I don't advise to anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if we think, PMI's got the change makers, obviously organizations like ProSci, Tim Creasy's been on the show as a guest a couple of times, is so focused on change management, because everything we do, every project leads to change.
Yeah.
But I also think it's even personal change, right? Willing to take the risk, willing to go to a different country, willing to take on open-minded certifications so that you can learn different approaches to things. Be willing to volunteer for a chapter and be on a board to be able to lead effort. Be willing to exchange with others around the world globally. That is change because you're getting out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. So whenever you get out of the comfort zone, you are improving yourself. Because if you are doing the same thing every day, you will definitely go down. You will not do anything from your life, or not make an impact. And if you want to do the best for yourself, for your family, for your community, company, you need to drive change. So people are usually, definitely by definition, people are avoiding change.
Mm-hmm.
So they like a change if they're not part of it.
Mm. Yeah.
But we learn through the history, through the side, that change is happening, whether you like it or not.
It's inevitable.
Inevitable, exactly. So you need to be aligned with it, and sometimes to try to see the change that is coming. And the biggest opportunity is if you understand the difference, if you can make the change or not. So are you able to influence and make the impact, or not to lose the effort if you are not? But also to see the opportunity where you are able to change and how you can do it.
Yeah, I love it. I just took a peek here at the clock, and we're kind of up on time.
Yeah.
I mean, conversations always go so fast. So last kind of question for you is just to tee up for you is there anything coming up that folks should be aware of that you're involved in? How can people get in touch with you? Last thoughts you have for the audience as they're listening?
Sure. Yeah. So they can, I have kind of my blog, it's pm.guru. So I'm putting some kind of post related to project management there. I'm also writing the articles for Forbes. I'm part of Forbes Technology Council. Yeah, we'll be involved in ASCU event. So PMI Phoenix, you as well,
Mm-hmm.
some of the sponsors and supporting that event. Also, I will be on PMI Global Summit in December in Las Vegas. So yeah, I would like to meet with all people who are willing or have a time there.
Yeah, that's right. I should mention that as well. I'll be there as well, which would be great. All of the new friends I've made globally.
Globally, yeah, definitely have opportunity to meet them there.
Yeah, this COVID world, I've met so many people and never had a chance to shake their hand. And it'll be fantastic to be able to be in person with people and to be able to put a body and a face to the name. So I'm really looking forward to that. So Milan, thank you so much for coming on today. Of course, thank you to all of our listeners, because if we don't have listeners, we really don't have a show.
Yeah.
Be sure to go out and visit the PMOsquad.com/podcast. That's where all of our shows are kept, but also your favorite podcast platform, right? So it could be Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spreaker, Spotify, whatever it may be, or Phoenix Business RadioX, of course, has all of these shows saved. We've got a fantastic lineup of guests coming up in the coming months as we wind out the year. We've got just a few more shows left before this year is over. Mate Severa will be joining us. We're going to be having a citizen developer discussion. So if you've been involved in the citizen developer program, I think that'll be an interesting one. We're going to have members of PMI joining one of their partners, TrackVia, will be with us. Then we're going to be speaking with members of the PMO Global Alliance Healthcare Strategic Initiative. I think that's going to be a fantastic discussion. We're big supporters of the PMO Global Alliance and all the good they're doing around the world. So this special group that they have focused on healthcare strategy, I think is going to be a really fun conversation. Sanjeev Augustine will be joining us, and we've got a couple other surprises that we're working on for finishing out the rest of the year. Also, certainly thank you to our sponsors, the PMO Squad and the PMO Leader. The PMO Squad is the premier PMO and project management consulting firm, started in the United States. Of course, I'm a little biased because that's my company, but I think we'll deliver better for you than any other company that does that for you. And then the PMO Leader. I had mentioned earlier, we have our global conference coming up in October. Registration is free, thanks to our partners, Planisware, Keyed In, and others that we'll be announcing shortly. We have an amazing lineup of guests planned for that, and I really encourage everybody to take advantage of that opportunity. So we look forward to you joining us for that. We'll see you in a couple of weeks as we take on our next show. That's it for now. Office hours are closed until next time. I'm PMO Joe, and you've been listening to Project Management Office Hours.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Project Management Office Hours with PMO Joe. You're not alone in your project management journey. We're here to help you achieve your goals. Subscribe to Project Management Office Hours on your favorite podcast platform to catch all of our episodes and hear industry leaders share their story and secrets to success.